Hi, this is Kendra from Pencil and Pigment, and today is Vlogoween day 24. And for today, I wanted to talk about a book. This book is called Birds and Us by Tim Burkhead, a 12,000 year history from cave art to conservation. This book is over 490 pages and was published in August of 2022. This author has done other bird-related books. Gosh, what it's like to be a bird, and then he has one about eggs. So this author is very much into birds. This is kind of his main thing. I haven't read this book. I'm sorry, I haven't. Time. Turns out making videos every day and then drawing for 2 hours every day is a lot. So one of the things I haven't gotten to is like major chapter books. So I'm going to read sort of the inside flap a little bit, and then we're going to look at it because it sounds absolutely fascinating, and I'm trying to figure out how to sneak this in. I'll probably have to read this in November. But it says, since the dawn of human history, birds have stirred our imagination, inspiring and challenging our ideas about science, faith, art, and philosophy. We have worshipped birds as gods, hunted them for sustenance, adored ourselves with their feathers, studied their wings to engineer flight, and more recently attempted to protect them. In Birds and Us, award-winning writer and ornithologist Tim Burkhead takes us on a dazzling epic journey through our mutual history with birds, from the ibis mummified and deified by ancient Egyptians to the Renaissance fascination with woodpecker anatomy, and from the Victorian obsession with egg collecting to today's flight to saving endangered species and restore their habitats. So this book spans years, it spans cultures, it's about birds and history. So when we look at the different eras in the chapters, A Boon in Bird Studies, Behavior, Evolution, and Ecology, Ghosts and the Great Auk, the Third Mass Extinction. It really goes into a bunch of stuff, but there are plates, there are color illustrations in the center, and there are some black and white photography in here, and some other bird illustrations that are really, really cool. I feel like when looking for bird books, and this is just me personally, I'm just going to project my whole thing. I typically want books that, you know, have reference photos, have bird ideas, have really huge visual aids. But if I'm looking to connect with my art on a more personal level, on an emotional level, on sort of like a healing journey or something, you know, spiritual or whatever it is, like I need to delve deeper into research, into the history, the importance. And if that's something that interests you, sort of getting in a, like, feeling a deep connection to your subject matter, to things you're really passionate about, like if you want to connect and understand and really feel and understand the importance of some of this subject matter, getting books about it historically is a great way to do that. But gosh, these illustrations are nice. What is this described by James? This is the head and tongue of the greater flamingo as drawn and described by James Douglas in the Royal Academy Philosophical, oh gosh, I don't know, Transactions, Douglas, 1714. Oh, I love old illustrations. So if you want to start to, like, you can just draw things and just draw them, and it can just be very fun and surface and kind of like hobby and whatever. If you want to delve deeper emotionally and sort of pour your interest, your love, your empathy, your, you know, your heart, your soul, some of these things into the things you go to draw. Like, this is another aspect of elevating your art, of making things that are meaningful and important to you and making sure you have those around, or creating things that are meaningful to others. It's just like baking a cake for someone you love and pouring your love into it. Reading about the subject matter that you go to create and getting a full, huge, like, breadth of research about it about what it meant to other people and how important certain things were. And not just for like looks. Like I get that the Victorians loved woodpeckers, but the ibis was a hieroglyphic that was a part of the written communication for Egyptians. So birds were integral. Like they couldn't communicate without symbols of birds. Like that's how heavily woven they were into the Egyptian society. And I think books like this really help not just educate ourselves and expand our mind and learn about other cultures, which we should always be doing for, you know, inclusivity and empathy and understanding, but for our art. Like reading things like this gives back to our art. It helps enrich our brain and our ideas and our passions. Like these are Roman mosaics. These are really, really beautiful. I just think all these little things enhance. Like all of them enhance. They can't not enhance your art. And your mind and your heart and everything you go to make. Like understanding the importance of some of these birds. Like bringing them to life on the page. Like we can get deep if you want to get deep. Like I feel like this book does that. Certain things are very precious to people and they mean a lot to people. And birds are culturally one of those things that have significant importance. So when you go to draw a bird that's from another culture, from another country, from another area, you can pour some of those ideas in. You can pour some of that emotion in, some of that heart, some of that understanding. Here's a resplendent Quetzal. Gosh, I love the tail. Yeah. I do want to read this. I just haven't had time. November. November will be a huge reading month again. I take some months off for depending on projects I'm doing. Oh, look at these photographs. With many birds. Magdalena, hand-reared with Oscar. Who is this? Oscar Henroth. Wow, those are great photos. Sorry, our light's doing weird things outside. But if you want to, from an artistic standpoint, understand a deeper connection with the subject matter you're creating, history books are a way to do it. This book would be a great way to do it. Birds, for the love of birds, is what this book really, really is. Like understanding birds, understanding their importance. There are many ways to learn history. We homeschool our kids. Our eldest is in high school. There are many ways to understand and learn history and cultures. And through art is an amazing way to do it. It doesn't include all the conversations, but it does include a really good visual understanding of some things, especially for extremely visual kids or kids interested in art. Through birds is another way. You could totally learn about history through birds. You're going to miss some stuff, but you're also going to at least understand the beginnings of others. So for the love of education and learning about other cultures, respecting other cultures, books like this are important. They're important to check out. They're important to delve into. History is always really, really important. You don't have to pick birds. You can pick a pigment. I have a playlist that's sort of weird pigments. You could follow the history of indigo, how it's made in Africa versus how it's made in Japan versus how it's made like different continents, India, like countries, how different places make indigo. You can follow different aspects of art very specifically. I have a video about indigo because it has a weird history and I love that pigment. But in terms of pouring more into your art, and I don't just mean more supplies, I mean pouring more of yourself and your understanding into your art. It's not just like leveling up your physical skills of how to use colored pencils or watercolors or things like that. It's also leveling up how you see something, how you put it down, what you pour into it as you create. And that can be that can be a difficult one. I mean, it doesn't always have to be deep. Like, your art doesn't have to be a super emotional, deep process, but it can be. And that's an option, and that's something that can level up your art. And I think this book is a great introduction on how to do that with birds, which is why I picked it up. But again, time constraints. Vlogoween isn't for everyone. It just isn't. So I apologize for not having more to talk about with this book. But in terms of what books to pick out from a library, like what sections to go to for references for your art, every section. The answer is the whole library. The whole library is for your art. Every single aspect of it. Whether it be historical, reference photos, children's, the whole library. And I strongly encourage you to examine the whole library, because you may find something in a book that triggers something in you that you want to talk about visually. Something that you realize is actually important to you that you maybe want to put down on your art. And in days where you're feeling artist block or artist burnout, that could be really, really helpful. That could be a really valuable tool to have in your tool belt to pull out and still be able to create and have that for either de-stressing or for your job or for however you choose to use your art. History books are important. That's what I'm getting at. And it doesn't have to be through war. Like, a lot of history is taught through wars and battles, and while those are important, and they tell you a lot about cultures and areas and all kinds of things, there are other ways to do it too. Lists of birds mentioned in the text. Good grief. All the birds. Notes on pages. Okay. What is this? Bibliography. Oh, good grief. Somebody did their site work. And then an index. So eventually I will get to reading this book. This book looks amazing. It just does. I just haven't. I haven't found the time. But I think it's important. I think all this is important when it comes to the conversation of creating art and making art and all the different ways you can make your art better. You can make your art say something. You can just really pour in your emotion into that with a deeper level of understanding of what the subject matter has meant to everyone. What it means to you, what it meant to your ancestors, what it meant to your neighbors, like what it means to the world. Like, that can be really, really important and interesting and amazing for your viewer to see when they look at your art. Like, how did that translate? Maybe only you can see that and only you can feel that, but you know it's there when you look at your art. And that could be the next level of accomplishment and pride and everything you want to feel within yourself when you look at your art. You know? So, yep. I'm gonna get to it. I promise. There's also, for a bonus book, because I can't not raid the kids section, this is Bird's Eye View, Keeping Wild Birds in Flight by Ann Erickson. I don't know when this book was published. Orca Book Publishers. This is great. Copyright 2020. So this book is 3 years old. And I love children's books. Children's books are great at organization, of understanding, of having bright color, of great page layout and design, because it has to attract younger audiences, and younger audiences have a shorter attention span. So a lot of times the information in children's book is really easy to chunk and pick up and remember and process because it's just in little tiny bits and pieces. Oh, such a fun photo. These are just really great photographs in this kid's book. Oh, we have feathers, we have fossils. And this is another way you could do bird illustrations in Birdtober. You could do it through skeletons, you could do it through fossils. There's so many ways you can sort of bend that narrative and really start to say something if you want. Bird taxonomy. Gosh, My husband knows how to key out different birds and plants and stuff. I've taken all those advanced science classes in college. Oh, this is neat. I wait for you guys before I open some of these books because I want you guys to have my first reactions. See, this is a really good detail photo of the individual little feathers. I like that. That's a good one. Young birders. Here it is, getting kids interested in bird watching. Here for it. Here for it. That's such a fun activity that's like free. We did so much of that during the pandemic. We sat in the backyard and bird watched. Yep, sure did. How did you spend your pandemic? Oh, I mean, it's still going on, but in 2020, that's how we spent the year in the backyard with binoculars. That's a great photo. An African gray. Gosh, those are such fun birds to listen to, like talk and play. And they live such a long time. Very striking in motion picture with a really clear understanding of shadow and light. That's really good. These are fun. These are absolutely fun. This is a fun little book. All kinds of things. Like my kids could totally pick up this book and try and draw these and get bird ideas. And, you know, kids like seeing other kids doing things in the books. They like to see their own audience reflected back at them. So it's very engaging for children. Pretty. I like it. Very cool. Very cool black. Is that what your eye does when you look at photos? Because that's what my eye does. It pulls apart colors when I look at something. Like I could stare at someone's face and I start pulling apart their colors as I look at them. Like how would I illustrate that? The portrait of their face. I know. It's horrible. I can't help it. Or like the composition. Like I'll stare at someone and be like, wow, I love their face. You have to let me draw them. Don't do what I do. Oh, that's such a pretty bird. That's a great photo. That's a great botanical photo. That's a really good up close. Like if you get into like macro photography, where they really, really zoom in, and you see like bug's eyes and stuff. That's a lot of fun. That's a lot of fun for detail. It's a great little book. It has little things you can read here or things you can read here. Kids love little pullouts like that. Here's stamps. Birds and art. Beating the bad 3. I don't know. Where have all the bird life gone? I don't know. I'm not sure. So they're talking about like preservation and conservation. And I'm here for that. We need to teach the younger generations all the importance of doing that so they can preserve birds. Because we lose birds. Birds go extinct all the time. And every once in a while we'll find a new bird or realize that there's a new species that we had clumped with something else and it needs to be pulled out. So there are some things constantly going in the bird world if you follow some of those online websites all about birds, the Audubon, stuff like that. There's articles and things to look at. This is a beautiful book with really, really nice photography. Like deep teal, seafoam green, light aqua. We have a really nice orange. It's starting to get a little bit more red. It's really pale. This is really pretty. It's a really pretty bird. And you can use books like this that have really good photography. Sorry, that's a sad photo. Really good reference photography for understanding shape and color and form and line and color theory and composition. Like all the different elements that go into a piece of art. You can see from other people's photographs that they deem important enough to put into a book. So, well, we're just going to look at this whole thing because this whole thing's cool. Tweets from the flyaway. Flyaway? That's really sweet. Well, that's cute. Oh, little tagged birds. Did you draw a tag on any of your birds this Birdtober? Is that something that you considered? Is that a message you wanted to send? Are the birds you're drawing get tagged? Okay, and then it goes into a glossary for children, which is always nice. Extra resources, websites for kids. They're the generation that, you know, younger than us, younger than me at least, prefer websites for all their resources and things. They're very, very tech savvy because they grew up and were born into it. And then there's more in this series, so they can just keep going and keep learning and exploring. So this is a fun book with some really good, fun reference photos. Even the front cover. The front cover looks nice. That's a really, really good one. So I hope you enjoyed this video. We looked at a couple books together. I hope it gave you some ideas. I hope it inspired. I hope it motivated you. Get to your local library and check out every section for weird and unusual ways to get inspired and motivated and, you know, references. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye.